Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/Tales of Neckbeard, the little story time y'all guys know and love. But beforehand, be sure to like the video, comment down below during the video if you see something you would like to discuss, and afterwards consider subscribing to the channel. Alrighty, let's go. Our first story comes to us from username CreamPie92. Malashi, the neckbeard who loves everything Scottish, literally just made this account to share this story with you all. Context, I'm a 19-year-old Scottish girl living in America, and with the way things went, I guess I'm considered beard bait. I'm small, 5'4", and a bit on the curvy side, small waist, big arse, and I love video games, mainly shooters or RPGs, plus the occasional edition of FIFA. I went through a lot of problems during high school, bullied in my first few years there, low self-esteem, not to mention I lost my dad 2 years prior, but over the years I gained my confidence back thanks to friends and family. But that's enough about me, now we meet our friend Scotsbeard. Scotsbeard is obsessed with my home country Scotland, hence the name. Usually neckbeards usually wear fedoras and Matrix-style leather trench coats. Well, my wee honeys, Scotsbeard always came into school wearing a kilt, a tartan bonnet cap, and no joke, nothing underneath his kilt as he is a true Scotsman. Oh yeah, he always spoke with a forced Scottish accent, sorta Mel Gibson mixed with groundskeeper Willie. Anyway, story time me wee cherubs. So this takes place during lunch. I'm sitting with my friend and my boyfriend when I hear a droning sound getting louder and louder. It's Scotsbeard playing the freaking bagpipes. Everyone turned around to see him walking into the lunch hall, butchering Scotland the Brave. When he finished, he said, "Thank you y'all," and took a bow. A freaking bow, as if he expected us to applaud his amazing talent. Silence. He walks to me and says, "Well, me lass, what do you think of me amazing bagpipe skills?" I replied in an awkward, you can really play those bagpipes. Well done, I guess. "I will be playing the bagpipes for the school talent show. Maybe you can help me, maybe?" he asked, leaning over my boyfriend. I don't play the bagpipes, Scotsbeard," I told him again in an awkward tone. He looked shocked. "What? But you're Scottish like me. How can you no play bagpipe?" He said, jaw dropped, as if I fit that stereotype. Because I don't, and yes, I'm Scottish, but not all Scottish people play bagpipes, Scotsbeard, I said, getting agitated. Before he could say another word, the bell rang for us to go back to class. Well, I need sleep, my wee honies, but I'll post my stories of Scotsbeard if you want more. I know you do. Till next time, bye. Now, while I can totally understand appreciating somebody else's culture or some other history of another culture, doing all of that is taking it a little bit too far, and that just makes it weird for everybody. And I'm not gonna lie, if somebody came to me wearing a kilt and told me that there was nothing under it, I would be running to the staff right away. Our next story comes to us from username Racing Anon. High school neckbeard stories. If you want to look up B. Billy K for what he sort of looked like, only fatter. This is just one long rant about him. The order is probably going to be all over the place, but I just found out he got arrested for having some very illegal and fricked up images on his computer. So on with the rant, and I'm not going to use his name, so let's call him Brian. So I met Brian in 8th grade, and at first he seemed kind of cool until all he wanted to talk about was anime and swords and stuff. But in the 9th grade is when his neckbeard ways just kept climbing. He came to school wearing an all-black attire complete with fedora and trench coat. He claimed he was the superior gentleman and that all women will fall for him by Christmas. He Naruto ran literally everywhere, kept so many mangas in his backpack that all he could fit was a small binder, and no shot he actually read all the books. Like, he would be reading 2 at a time. I was stuck with him as a partner once with 2 other girls, and we had to vote on who we wanted to pretend the assignment, and this one girl wanted to do it, and he got upset, took the papers, and tossed them in the trash. He claimed he was dating a girl he met online who lived in Japan, and claimed he visited her over winter break and came back with a shoddy edited photo of him with some random Google search Japanese girl. In fact, someone took the photo and did an image search and showed the literally photo he used. I played baseball and we had to leave early to go to a game, and he went on some rant about how he never got to leave early and it wasn't fair because all we did was hit a ball. He got suspended for 15 days because he ran into 2 girls at lunch wanting to be the first in line. Trust me, that was the best 15 days any of us had. We literally got so much work done because he was gone and had a private party to celebrate. He ended up failing the final and freaked out, but somehow passed enough to go to the next grade, 10th grade. I didn't really have any classes with him. All I know is someone destroyed his DS and he was going on a manhunt to find out. I mean, in all fairness, if somebody destroyed my property and I didn't know who it was, I'd like to find out, although I probably wouldn't do it in a manhunt style. 11th grade. I had one class with him temporarily, more on that later, but the teacher basically told him to shut up and banned him from wearing the trench coat because he looked like a wannabe mafia guy. He definitely didn't take a likening to her, and I know he ended up getting kicked out because he had to take these special courses that the school offered where he had to show up like an hour early or stay an hour later to make up classes. but he had to do both and give up his lunch so he can attend some type of catch-up class during lunch. But the month he was in that class, all he did was read manga and frick around on his phone. Then we had off-campus lunch, and apparently he was free to go eat off on Fridays and would go into the fields between the school and the mall and practice his katana skills. And I remember me and my friends passing by him walking by because we went to Hooters a few times, and I remember him seeing our to-go cup and said something like, "While you peasants here lusting over the bosom of a harlot, I was practicing the blade and making my ancestors happy." 12th grade. He absolutely lost it this year. The fact that he somehow got D's on all his classes and was enough to pass him, it was beyond me. I know he was stuck doing 3 extra classes again, and he needed a fine arts credit to end up taking stagecraft with me, which he promptly got kicked out of and forced to take something else. He got banned from off-campus lunch because he was caught practicing his katana and just basically stayed by himself in the library. Then at graduation, when we were walking back to the seats, he Naruto ran. Well, the last official time I saw him was at diploma pickup. I needed some extra volunteer hours for a grant at college and was able to give diplomas out. He was the only person not to receive one who actually walked. On the roster, if you were on the verge of passing, you got to walk, but that didn't promise a diploma, and that was finalized during the summer. I never heard from him again until just recently when my friend told me he got caught with, it's more or less this whole thing has just been a whole escapades or analyzing from afar this little cringy guy from, his entire childhood or, growing up through school, and honestly, I'm kind of wondering what went on through his mind. I'm actually pretty glad that you never had to do any type of cringy involvement with him, like up person, like he never tried to hit on you in a creepy way. Our next story comes to us from username Red Dawn Rose. Neckbeard ruins Marvel RPG for everyone and then stalks me after I kick him from the group. Buckle up, buckaroos, this is gonna be a long one, but I need some therapy. Don't worry, TLDR will be at the end. Some background information. I run a Marvel RPG designed by yours truly that has more than emphasis on the story than the game itself, but still incorporates D&D-like elements, allowing people to have their own original characters as well as control some of the heroes from the Marvel Universe. There are 2 different campaigns going set in separate universes with emphasis on different ideas. One is more to do your own outer space and cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, while the other is a little more grounded and MCU-like. Campaign in question where all this happened was the space emphasis one. The cast of this story and who they control, names have been changed to protect the innocent. Roman, Doctor Strange, Loki, Captain America, Iron Man, Washington Rogers, clone of Steve Rogers adopted as his son, an original character. Siri is Theodore Teddy Griffin, mutant original character, and Morgan Stark. Jay, also my boyfriend, is Miles Morales. Matt, Vithar Foster, Asgardian original character, son of Thor, and Vision. Me, the DM, Christine Strange, Doctor Strange's wife, Cereza Strange, Doctor Strange's daughter, and apprentice, an original character. Robbie Reyes, Carter Slade, Bucky Barnes, Texas Barnes, female clone of Bucky Barnes, adopted as his daughter, original character. Alexander Stark, son of Tony Stark, younger brother to Morgan Stark, original character. Adrian Jackson, original character. Rhea, original character, AI made by Tony Stark, and other background characters. Kai, the 32-year-old autistic neckbeard who single-handed ruined the campaign for everyone. Kuro, OC. So me, Roman, Siri, Matt, and Jay are all good friends and have been doing all sorts of campaigns for a really long time, normally with either me or Jay at the helm. We meet every week at the library where I work, and then alternate the campaigns so we have 2 campaigns going at the same time, but we switch between them so things stay spicy. Enter Kai, stage left. Kai saw us playing and asked if he could join, to which we politely accepted, and I explained to him the rules along with how this was a more story-focused game. He filled out his sheet and handed it to me, and I immediately noticed something was off with his character, especially in the description he gave. Kuro gave off a lot of anime vibes with weird, out-of-nowhere quirks that just didn't run with what I think he was going for. I tell him that his character isn't approved, and then hand it to Jay to check over. Jay is sort of my right-hand consultant in all things game-related, and he agrees with my decision. Kai got disheartened, but Jay promised that he would work with him on it if he wanted to continue on for the time being without him. We didn't get Kuro approved that night, or the next session, or the next session after that. About 5 character revisions later, Kuro was not as OP as was allowed to join the game. The story in the game so far was that Loki had challenged Doctor Strange for the title of Sorcerer Supreme and had won the fight, throwing Doctor Strange into a portal and then taking the sanctum as his own along with his apprentice. Meanwhile, the Winter Soldier had also gone missing after the EPA requested guardianship from the Avengers due to an unknown substance washing up on the Hudson River that they had to remove, and were subsequently attacked, leaving only non-organic objects behind. Devastated that Bucky had gone missing again, Captain America, Texas Kansas and Washington were told to take a breather on the advice of Tony Stark, who had stepped up into leadership role of the Avengers. Tony had also ordered that Doctor Strange's wife be taken into custody at Avengers Tower for protection until they could locate the Good Doctor, in addition to sending out the order that unless approved, none of the younger members of the Avengers could be deployed on a mission. Kai decided, despite all this prior information that we told him, the best way to debut Kuro/Aetherius would be to have his spaceship the size of a skyscraper land in the Hudson River, hack every news media network, and broadcast generic "We Come in Peace" messages before hacking both Rhea and Friday to give Iron Man a data dump that was the database on his ship, and asked if he could talk. Naturally, because his AIs got hacked, Roman decides to make Iron Man decline Kuro's offer while Alex and Washington investigated. They met Kuro, who single-handedly saved the day in a zombie invasion which Kai made in one post in New York. Kuro tells them that he needs to talk to Iron Man, and Alex says he could pass on a message, which Kuro refuses. Out of the game, Roman asks Kai why Kuro wants to talk to Iron Man so bad, and what is basically boiled down to was Kuro was trying to get Tony-senpai to notice him. Kai did not like Tony as a character and wanted to prove that Kuro was better than him by having him make better armor, better weapons, etc., and wanting Tony to acknowledge it despite the fact that the guy hurt his two AIs and is trying to lead the Avengers. Back in the game elsewhere, Roman had Tony calm Christine down from a panic attack and took her down to the workshop/lab in the basement of Avengers Tower to show her something he had been working on. See, Christine was a doctor too, and with two Avengers missing and no field medic, Roman decided to have Tony build Christine something similar to the Valkyrie suit that Mercy uses in Overwatch, along with her staff, to give her a team, a doctor, and another hero that could support them, with the aided bonus of Christine being able to actively participate in the search for her husband. Out of the game once more, a few days after this all happened, everyone was super happy and excited to see Christine finally take on a role as a superhero with opportunity to have shenanigans and happen during her training. Kai was not impressed. He told me he didn't like that Christine was switching to a hero and that of the character I basically built up for 2 years was a boring character, before changing the subject to once again be about how great Kuro was and how powerful he was, etc. He also told me that he was thinking about commissioning an artist to draw a picture of Kuro, and I responded that using some birthday money I was given, I commissioned a professional comic book illustrator to draw Cereza. I showed him a picture of this piece, and he reacted to it by saying, "Wow, she's beautiful. When they meet in-game, Kuro is going to be in love." I thought he was kidding because Sarah was 14 in-game, which is a known fact, and that surely he wouldn't be dumb enough to have his adult male character pursue a romantic relationship with the underage child of Doctor Strange, right? Wrong. Kai's secondary mission for Kuro now is to find Cereza in order to date her, along with the primary mission of proving Iron Man is a horrible human being. Kuro hijacks some information, a lead from an Avengers outpost in the Midwest ran by Carter Slade and Teddy, suggesting alien activity was involved with the two Avengers disappearing. Carter and Teddy go on horseback to check out the creepy town and find a very amnesiac Bucky Barnes with silver eyes. Silver-eyed characters meant that they had an alien parasite in them that was now controlling them. Bucky uses his new alien powers to attack Carter and Teddy, who flee the town. I have Carter call Robbie Reyes to take Teddy and run to the Avengers. Well, as I said before, Kai had Kuro intercept the message, and he had Kuro show up to the outpost in tank. Out of the game, I told him that was a no-go. Why? Because what would happen IRL if a tank suddenly rolled up out of nowhere in your town. Nor did I ever give permission, or did he ever mention about his character acquiring a tank. I decided to retcon this, and Kuro goes back to his spaceship, still in the Hudson River, to do some retcon. At this point in time, Siri and Roman are threatening to leave the group because in addition to trying to prove that Tony Stark is a bad person, Kai is now pestering Roman constantly about having Kuro and Iron Man interact. I told Roman that if she doesn't want them to interact, they don't have to, as Tony is her character and not Kai's, so he can't force them to interact if doesn't want to. And she took that advice. Meanwhile, Jay and I both separately talk with Kai, who says that his autism is to blame. Nevertheless, we let him off with a warning. This was around the time that the stalking began. Kai would come into where I work and talk at me, not to me, at me. He would stand at the desk and go on and on about whatever was on his mind that day, got into a fight with somebody on Twitter, I got talked at. His weird dysfunctional poly relationship breaking down? I got talked at. Whenever I tried to make conversation back, it would always turn into a pity party. He was the kind of guy who, if your grandma got shot, your cat got put down, your dog got run over, your house was broken into, and your parents' house was set on fire all in the same day, somehow, someway, his day was always worse than yours. For example, one morning after work, I collapsed and passed out in the hallway of my house from a lack of nutrition which made me unable to work for 3 days, and I asked Jay to message Kai saying when I would be back, and whatever his problem was, I didn't want to hear about it. Thankfully, Kai respected this for about a day. I felt like I was Kai's unpaid therapist, which I did not need to be taking on his problems along with my own. My family and I were moving houses at the time, and his girlfriend, who was a total legbeard and kept on asking me for clothes despite me being a size 2 and her a size 16. During that period, I also tried my hand at cosplay for the first time, and when I showed Kai a picture of me in costume, he laughed at it before steering the conversation back to whatever weird live-action Sentai show had caught his fancy that week. I honestly started to hate my own game. I didn't want to go, and it felt like a chore. My group was breaking apart, my own problems were weighing on me, Jay and I's relationship was also being tested around this time. Finally, I had enough and kicked Kai from the group. I told Siri, Roman, and Matt not to come and to block Kai in everything they had him on social media-wise. When Kai showed up, I told him he was being kicked from the group for being inappropriate in-game, and that he needed to think and start taking responsibility for his actions. He started crying, begged for me to let him back in, then when I wouldn't, he called his mother. He then, as suspected he would, wrote a bunch of abusive DMs to everyone in the group and then tried to justify it by telling me he had a power keg temper and that he would explode if he hadn't written those out to everyone and sent them, and told me to give him 2 years, and in 2 years he would return to the group. Now, because we were in the library and I am fairly well known amongst our regulars, someone caught wind of his tantrum and reported it to the front desk. Our security and one of the supervisors of the front desk came over to me, and I had to explain in albeit simplified terms what had happened. I had never felt more humiliated than I had then. Thankfully, they were understanding and told me to talk to them if there was any more problems. Then the stalking kicked into high gear. Now when he would come into my work to talk at me, it was about the group, how horrible everyone was, and how in 2 years he would be back in the group as if I didn't have the final say on that and talking. Still, about how his character was better than Iron Man and how he was going to sweep sweet 14-year-old apprentice of the Sorcerer Supreme off her feet. I was at my breaking point, and Jay couldn't stand to see something I had worked on so hard and my love of the game and comics be destroyed, not to mention it was affecting my schoolwork. He would come up to me at work, and when I wasn't there, he would message me and mostly the same content of the messages. What broke the camel's back was one day I was doing my schoolwork while I had some downtime at my desk, and he told me how much he pitied me for being college because he had a hard time in calculus. He dropped out of college when he was in, and asked me if I struggled with it too. I responded that I have never had to take calculus, so I never struggled with it, and I was lucky because most of the classes I did in terms of math were financially based. He tried to scold me and tell me to be more modest about my intellect because, and I quote, people like modesty, and that I should be bragging about are clearly superior and when not all of us are made to stand tall among society's elite, before going on about his autism again. My coworker told him that he could take his own advice, which got him to leave me alone for about an hour before coming back over and getting on his soapbox to proclaim why we should let endangered animals go extinct because that's what nature wants and it's natural. I called Jay after work, distraught from having to deal with him, and Jay told me not to worry about it. Jay messaged him and told me to leave me alone. A lot of people in even other campaign groups we were told me to get a restraining order or a no contract order. He didn't. He and Jay talked, and once again, Kai said he only did it because of his autism, to which Jay told him to quit using it as an excuse, as he was intelligent enough to know how to temper it, which we had seen in our sessions. Jay told him he was purposely harassing me because he knew I had to be nice to people or else I would lose my job, as is the way of all jobs working with the public, and if he didn't stop, then he would kick his teeth in, as in, he would drive and wait for him outside because Jay didn't live in our town, and it didn't matter if he got kicked out of the library, as he could just go to the one more near him, but Kai didn't have a car, so if he got kicked out, then he couldn't go to the library for a year. He has come up a few times since, but I think he's just poking the bee's nest, seeing what he can get away with. My Marvel game has sort of grounded to a halt, mostly due to life happening with the other members, but we try to play when we can. I'm still trying to get back into comics, although I did recently have Parapolis, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, which whilst not really being a comic, it is still a graphic novel, and one I would highly recommend for people wanting to dabble in the genre, but wanting something that makes you think. I just need to post this because I needed some therapy, and writing it all down was definitely helped me come to terms with it. TLDR, Neckbeard, 10 years older than me, acts inappropriately and breaks the rules of my Marvel RPG, and then when I kick him from the game, he proceeded to stalk me and harass me at work. Gotta just love it when people do that. You know, I can honestly say I've had something similar like this happen at my own work, where I've been working or a coworker has been working and somebody comes up and just talks to them to the point where they get annoying and they won't leave. And in that instance, we usually get all the other coworkers, and we all agree to this, to customer service the crap out of them to get them to leave, trying to annoy them. It really does suck that this dude effectively tried to ruin your game by making his character the main character, and it honestly does look like a pretty cool like Marvel D&D style game, and that honestly looks really interesting, not gonna lie. But with that, that is going to have to be it for the video. If you had liked what you had seen, be sure to like the video, comment down below what you liked about the video, and afterwards consider subscribing to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.